Hey there, I'm B.R.E. Brown, your favorite pen reviewer. Today we're going to have a look at two pens, so this is a double feature. I know, these are the pens in question, but they look the same. Well, they basically are the same, except one's a fountain pen, one's a rollerball. These are made by TaG, and this is their Submarine collection. They contacted me, they're running a Kickstarter right now. The Kickstarter ends in a couple days. So if you want these, I wouldn't wait. Very kind, thank you for sending me the full set. I'm going to cover the parts of these pens. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. That's pretty much it. I will tell you now. These are fun pens, so I had a lot of fun with these. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about these TaG Submarines. So I'll first show you the box, which I think is quite cool. This part comes off, it's just a sleeve, and then you have the actual box. The box opens up, and then the pen would lie in there. You have a bit of a description of the Submarine series. I thought this didn't come out. No, don't think that's supposed to come out. And then we have this information brochure on how to fill it, etc. So quite nice, I think. Then we have the actual pens. Now, because rollerball and fountain pen, I don't even know from the outside which is which. So just to keep the screen not too cluttered, I'm just going to put one out right next to a Pilot Metropolitan. And then I'll just talk about this a little bit. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see the details. So, TaG, Taiwanese company, they have a brilliant filling system, quote unquote, they put on Kickstarter, but they do say it's an internal converter. So it really is a captive converter, and I'll come back to that in likes and dislikes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Over 80% of the pen is solid brass. They have tapered fiber-like lines for comfort, which you may or may not be able to see. I'll try to have them catch the light. As you can see, they vary in length a bit in the barrel, which I think is quite a nice touch, looks quite distinguished. There is a black PVD coated stainless steel nib commissioned from Schmidt. You can upgrade that to a gold plated nib, and if you want to buy these, if you send them a private message on Kickstarter with the code Steven, you get that gold plated nib upgrade for free. Usually it's 15 bucks, so that might be fun. Made in Taiwan, they have this turbine turning knob at the end, which is made from lotus material, which was developed in Taiwan. Is actually upcycled from sediment. I thought it was kind of cool. So this is actually, I suppose, a more or less sustainable source, which is kind of neat. There is a fountain pen and a rollerball. The nib, as I said, in the fountain pen is made by Schmidt, and the rollerball tip is also made by Schmidt. It's $109 for the fountain pen, $100 for the rollerball, and $209 for the bundle, which is what they sent me. So let's have a look at one of these pens. I'm just opening this up to see. Yeah, this is the fountain pen, which I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're most interested in, but I'll of course do a writing sample with both, and I'll show you both. Okay, so it's intensely black. It's a nice matte black finish, which I think is quite cool. It's called Submarine, right? So I thought it was kind of neat that in the finial there, I don't know how well you can see, but it looks like a turbine, which is kind of nice. Is it called turbine now? What is it called? Like the thing that moves a boat. Why can't I come up with the term? You will come up with it in the chat. Sorry, in the comments. Okay, we have this clip, nicely shaped. I like that notch. It's a nice little touch there. It's very springy, quite nice. You have the barrel tapers down. As I said, you have those grooves running there. I think that looks like the coating chipped off a bit, but it didn't. That's just the way it catches the light. Tapers down. Here it says TaG. I don't know how well you can see it. It's a blind engraving. It's a little hard to see, but right above my finger. And here we have that turbine. Okay, the pen uncaps, screwing off the cap. We have a tapered down section and what looks like a number 5 Schmidt nib in a black PVD coating with some sort of plastic feed. This turning knob, of course, you can turn. I won't now because there's ink in it, so you can dip the section into ink, twist that turbine, and it'll draw up ink. Now, before we get into what kind of filling system it is, it's very simple. It's a captive converter, okay? there is this metal piece right there which comes off, which engages with that turbine, and that's all there's to it. The converter screws in, so there's no real chance of that accidentally coming out. I always like that. It also tends sometimes to rattle around a little bit less in a pen barrel, I found. This metal piece does come off. Careful if you clean it. It does slide off, and then, yeah, just don't lose it. Whoops. I'll put that back on. You don't have to unscrew that really though, because again, you can just dip the whole thing in ink, engage that, and it'll suck up ink. Works very well. What I'll say about this, I thought that was kind of, to me, that was kind of interesting. I would hold this pen like this. By the way, it doesn't post. And I found the nib to be quite feedbacky to the point of being a bit scratchy. And then I was attentively reading the Kickstarter post that goes along with this. And I actually saw everyone holding it much higher. They also say that these grooves are meant as texture to hold the pen. And what's interesting is I then moved my hand position, and all of a sudden the nib became much smoother. So I think this pen is actually designed to be held up a little bit more highly. Not ridiculously so, obviously, but a bit more highly than you might want. And I wonder if they had something like a Asian type calligraphy brush in mind, which also tend to hold them a little bit more high and more perpendicular to the paper. I don't know if that was the reasoning, but what I will say is once I did that, it became a very pleasant writer. What I would like to do is do a writing sample, and then I'll show you the rollerball as well. It really looks exactly like the fountain pen, except of course it has a rollerball tip and not a nib. So again, correcting myself, holding it where I think it should be held. What do we have here? The TaG Submarine collection. I didn't see an option to select a nib grade, but being a Schmidt nib, they're marked, so this is an F. The ink is just a Monteverde red, whatever their standard red is. Now, there really is a difference, so I'm just going to shut up and let you listen. Versus more feedback under that angle than under this angle. Not a big deal as long as you know that that's the case. Now, I only had one, right? Obviously, I only got one of these fountain pens. So I don't know if they're all like that and if they're designed that way. I couldn't find that they were, but therefore I also couldn't find that they weren't. So if you get one, experiment a bit with where to hold it. That might help make the nib a little bit smoother. It's by no means a super wet writer, but it's nicely tuned and it does what it's supposed to do. Finer nib, definitely round. I wouldn't expect any line variation from the grind, I mean. Not listed as a flex nib, but as you can see, very carefully you could squeeze out some line variation. Be careful though, it's not listed as a flex nib, it's not, anyway. There we are, but it has some somewhat long finish time, so you can squeeze out a bit. But at your own risk, again, not meant to do that. Then we have the reverse writing, and the reverse writing does not really work, as you can see. It gets very dry. It is smooth, but it gets very dry, and I don't think this is really pleasant to anyone. Let's converse then about the rollerball. The rollerball, like I said, the two, you can't distinguish the two on the outside, but the rollerball has a Schmidt rollerball tip, and I found the rollerball even more pleasant than the fountain pen. Feels like a somewhat longer section, because I'm just showing you them side by side. But don't think it is longer, it just feels longer because you have that rollerball tip. Anyway, rollerball. This is the rollerball, and this feels to me like a medium tip, but it uses fountain pen ink, so you suck up ink by manipulating that turbine knob again. Same thing. This happens to be Waterman, is it Mystery Blue? whatever their blue-black is. And I'm not going to do a full writing sample with this because it's a rollerball, so there's obviously no line variation or anything like that really. But it is very smooth, very pleasant to use, and I just love a rollerball that takes fountain pen ink because you have way more ink options available than there would be with the standard refills that are blue or black and sometimes red or green, but that's pretty much it. So very nice writer, a lot of fun to play with, and I like them both quite a bit. So now the question is, what do I like about them and what do I not like about them? I'm trying to make this the thumbnail. What do I like and what do I not like about these pens? There are a lot of things I like. The design, I think, is pretty cool. They went with a submarine theme and they stuck with it. You have the sort of turbine thing, you have something on the finial that I've shown you before. Looks quite nice. I will say immediately they're well made. They're well crafted pens. I really had a close look at these. The tolerances are all very tight. It's all very nicely made. There are no big gaps anywhere. There are no sharp corners anywhere, or sharp edges for that matter. I think it's really neat. And so I like that. I'm just holding up the fountain pen here, but a lot of the same criticisms or remarks apply to the rollerball as well. I like the looks. I like the weight. If you like lighter pens, these are not for you. 80% brass, it's a more solid pen, and I would not get it if you like lighter writers. That more or less rhymed. I like that. Nib, it's not the world's biggest nib. This looks like a number 5 Schmidt nib, but I think it fits the overall look of the pen fairly well. And I think with a number 6 nib that would look out of proportion. It's a fairly fine section. I think this is quite nice. These grooves that they created on the pen barrel are really nice. I've tried to show you those when the camera was pointing down. It's a very nice, interesting visual appeal, and it's quite comfortable to hold. As to holding the pen, as I've kind of discussed before, it's an interesting pen to hold because I found the writing experience is best when you hold it a little bit more highly than I usually would. I would hold it here normally, and then the nib is actually quite feedbacky to the point of being a bit scratchy, but once you hold it higher up, it doesn't have to be obviously all the way here. Obviously don't hold it like this. It doesn't work that way, does it? But I mean a little bit higher, the writing experience becomes much more pleasant, which I think is quite nice. There are going to be people who will complain about the idea of a captive converter, and I never fully understand why that is such a big issue to some people. It's a converter, but it's in the pen, and it's there, like any other converter. And if you really don't like it, you can unscrew the barrel of the pen, and you can take the converter out. It just unscrews from the section. You have this little metal piece which does slide off. So be careful you don't lose that, but I mean beyond that, what's the issue? I just don't get it. It would be an issue in my mind when companies try to pass off a captive converter as a piston filler. Although then you could raise the philosophical argument of what is a piston filler? At the end of the day, what is here but there without a T? Right? I mean, it's a moving piston up and down in a pen. And a captive converter is also the piston, it's just smaller and there's less ink capacity. Maybe that's the issue, but don't overestimate how much ink a piston filler holds. Even a Montblanc 149 doesn't hold that much ink. People think it holds an enormous amount of ink. It's not true. It's been measured. It's not true. Anyway, I don't have an issue with a captive converter when a company's honest about it. And they say on their Kickstarter, they describe it as an internal converter, etc. So they're clear about it. They're not making a lie. They're not telling lies, sorry. The turbine knob, quite comfortable, works well, allows you to fill the pen with ink quite easily. I really have no issues. Things I don't like, well, there really isn't much. The higher holding the pen angle, that took a little bit of getting used to, but once it was there, it's fine. Everything is pretty smooth. This is a little bit sharp, but it's pretty smooth. I haven't been bothered holding it. The threads are definitely quite big and therefore quite smooth. That's really not sharp. They're nicely rounded off. It's not an issue. The people who like posting, this pen does not post. And even if it would, you can, maybe you push hard enough, I guess everything will post at least once. But I wouldn't, because you might accidentally engage that turbine turning knob and then ink will come out. Happened to me in a meeting recently, by the way, that I thought a pen was a vacuum filler, so I tried to unscrew the end cap or the button to get more ink into the secondary chamber, and it was a piston filler, so there was ink everywhere, and someone said, "Hey, your pen exploded." It happens. Anyway, so if you like posting, it's not for you. If you like lighter pens, it's not for you. One thing I will say, and this is a really weird pet peeve that I didn't know I had, I want to point this out. Sometimes when I write, I take the cap and I put it on my desk like that. And with this pen you can't, because look, the clip sticks out and it folds over. Is that a big deal? Absolutely not. But I keep doing it and it keeps falling over, so maybe I'm just really, really stupid. Anyway, here we are. I think they're fun pens. I'm going to be honest, and this is weird, but I like the Rollerball best. I like Rollerballs that take fountain pen ink, and it's very smooth. It's a really pleasant writer, so I actually prefer that one. So here we are. If you want one, you can use the link in the description. If you send them a private message with just mentioning the code Stephen in lowercase, then you get the gold-plated nib upgrade for free. That saves you 15 bucks. If you want that, not a solid gold nib, just to be sure, just gold-plated. I think they're nice pens, and I've had a lot of fun with this. Very solidly made. I just think they're really cool. So there we are. I hope this was useful, and a very kind thank you to the company for sending me these. And that's it. I'll gladly see you later. Bye.